Okay. Um, I've been thinking a lot about people in my past. Some of these people I haven't talked to for like 10 years. Some of them, most of them are people that, their relationships that fizzled out for, some reason. Some of them are kind of old, like 10 years. Some of them are a little bit old, like a year. Um, but these people, these random characters, seemingly random characters in my mind have been popping up. And so I thought I'd unpack this, and this whole thing kind of provides a structure for me to think through that. Um, as I began to think through it a little bit more, I realized that these aren't necessarily characters or people that adored me in the past. They weren't like my best friends, who I still have today. These are people who kind of ultimately, in some way, rejected me. Um, and some of them are girls, some of them are guys. Friendships that kind of dissolved or we grew apart for whatever reason. But these are people that kind of rejected me in some way, and I haven't consciously thought about them for a long time. I mean, none of these are really relationships that I'm actively maintaining a dialogue with or relationship. It's just like they totally fizzled out. But I'm thinking of these people. Um, Almost dropped my pen. So you know, I think in the last year I've grown a lot, and that's like something I've kind of realized. In the last year or two, I've just had experiences. I've lived on my own. I'm like hopefully just a maturing individual. So yeah, in the last 2 years, I can say, okay, I think I've grown, and I think I'm a better person. And what I think I might be doing is you know uh, my mind saying, okay, you're saying you've grown. Is there any way we can test this or validate it externally? Well, maybe these people who rejected you, or who thought you were inadequate, won't think that anymore. So maybe if you reacquainted this new version of yourself, they would accept you, and that would be evidence of how much you've grown. Obviously, there's some problems with that, um, but I think that might be this why these people are popping into my mind, and like I kind of want to like hit them up. I don't know what any of them are doing. These girls could be married with families. Like I haven't kept tabs on them at all, so I'm not gonna hit them up. But like I kind of have this impulse to. But yeah, kind of like using these people as a measuring stick to go. Okay, you're saying you've grown. Well, let's see how much. Like that like that's how you do that anyway. Obviously, it's not the right way to do that. But anyway, that's how I think I might be thinking about it. These people, as I was kind of writing about it, they're like time capsules. They're holding an old, inadequate, maybe is probably not the right word. It's just someone who was less mature version of myself in their heads, and I'm coexisting with that. And I want to correct it because it's wrong. Um, I want them to think differently about me. I want them to think better of me. And it kind of goes back. I mean, I think the root of this is, ever since I was a kid, and I'm still like this, obviously, I want to impress people. I want to exceed their expectations. And when I don't do that, it pains me. And that, I think that some people might look at that and think that's like some sort of superpower, and it isn't. Like maybe in a professional setting, you you might be seen as like a high achiever in some regards, right? Because you're trying to impress all these people uh, of authority in your life, and you might do it, and they'll reward you or recognize you in some way. But really, I think it's a weakness most of the time, because people have an infinite capacity to be impressed. They're always missing something, and it's not something you can fulfill. It's something they need to figure out. And so you could spend all your energy, all your finite energy, trying to make this person whole, trying to impress them. Um, and you could spend all of that, and it could get you nowhere. And they could still be unfulfilled, and they will be still unfulfilled, because that's not who you are. You're just a person. You're not God. You can't do that for someone, and I can't do that for them. But I still try, and I don't know where to draw that line because, the people in my life, who I think have a good balance is like they still want to do a good job, but they draw a line and they know where to draw it, and they draw it at a place where, you know, they're still exerting themselves, they still do good work, they still get along with people, but they're going to draw a boundary and they're not going to do it. They're not going to work for someone or put energy into impressing them past a point where they're sacrificing their own well being and sanity, like perhaps I am currently. So, anyway, these people are time capsules, and there's something unsatisfying to me about that idea, and I want to go back to them and I want them to say, "You've grown. I'm incorrect. I've updated the version of you, and now I want to be friends with you." I don't know. Obviously, I'm not consciously saying it like that. I think this is maybe a subconscious thing, but it's kind of maybe why these people are popping into my mind. Because why else would they be? These relationships aren't. They're like gone. So anyway, so a few of the other kind of thoughts. Yeah. So measuring growth. You assume that people. Oh yeah. So there's kind of two. Well, there's a few other things that I kind of thought of. Is I'm assuming that this person was a good judge of character or of me to begin with. That's what this all kind of implies. Like these people, especially 10 years ago, I mean, these people were teenagers. But it's like I'm assuming that these people were good judges of character to begin with. I don't know. I don't have evidence of that. But the rejection stung that I just want to like correct it. But I have to think first and think, what was this person's, who was this person to deliver this rejection? And does their rejection, how much weight does it carry? Was it someone you really respected and admired and, had qualities that you wanted? And they rejected you? That might be different than. And some of them totally did. Um, but it's not like they weren't without their flaws. And me assuming that they're, this person of, I'm not assuming they're perfect character, but, at least sound judges of character, I don't know that. I actually don't. And I would guess that they aren't. Um, Maybe I'm coping a little bit with that. Like, obviously, you don't have to be perfect to accurately judge someone, and you should take people's judgment, I think, seriously. Like if you're getting rejected by everyone, um, then that might say something about you. So weigh that properly. Um, but anyway, just I guess this implies these people were perfect judges of character, and I don't know that they were. So do I really have to hold on and cling on to that rejection? I don't know. Probably not. The other thing too is, and I recognize this about myself, is I've grown. The version they have of me from how many ever years ago is a ghost. It doesn't exist. But what I didn't initially maybe recognize is that the same goes for them. They've grown, they've changed. The person they were when they rejected you or your relationship fizzled out doesn't exist. It doesn't exist just as much as that version of you doesn't. You're two different people. Um, so you can't go back and impress that person because it's a new person. They could still have similar beliefs and they could still reject you all the same or accept you, but either way, it's a different person. So, wanting to win back that person from how many ever years ago is impossible. That person does not exist. So let it go. I guess is kind of the implication there. Maybe the last thing that I would really hope that I'm not subconsciously doing is, so these people rejected me, and the consequence of that was me growing. There's and a bunch of other factors, but their rejection probably it gave me a signal that I thought about, and I changed things maybe because of, not all because of, but maybe partially. Like it formed who I was. And what I hope I'm not doing is saying, that person, because of you, because of your rejection, because of your judgment, um, and the consequence of that judgment being a rejection of me, I became better because of you. So thank you. I hope that's not what I'm doing because the growth and anyone's growth is their doing. No one could change me. I had to do that. The same way I can't change other people. I can help give them inputs and insight or whatever, But ultimately, it's not me or someone else that helps me grow. Um, uh, it's I do all of that, so I can't help others grow. They can't do the same for me. They can give me signals, and I can take those and balance those. But ultimately, I'm doing the work. And so I hope that I'm not like going back to these people and putting them on a pedestal in some way and just saying like, "Thanks, look at the fruit of your labor. I'm better now." Um, I hope that that's not the case. Some weird subconscious thing happening there. Um, the rejection may have been a contributor to that development, but they themselves are not the consequence of my growth. No, yeah. So I guess I'm kind of starting to belabor that. You get it. Um, so yeah. So I think the path forward will be, I'll chew on it for a little bit longer now that I've kind of verbalized some of my thoughts and have written them down. I'm not going to hit these people up. I think that's an irrational kind of impulse that would just, do nothing but be maybe perhaps strange to these people. And yeah, so I think just kind of talking through it, maybe verbalizing some of the things that were somewhat as subconscious, and now putting them into the conscious, I can maybe just kind of get over it logically and continue growing because I still got a lot of that to do. But yeah, so anyway,